So good afternoon, everyone. This is the NSA ad hoc meeting of Police Commission. Today is July 9th and it is 4:39 p.m. We have members of the community with us, Deacon Reggie Lyles, of course, Reverend Dr. Jacqueline Thompson. We have Mariana Contreras and we have Walter Riley. We have our attorneys, Katina and Carr, I'm tired, and Tyler Rivera. Well, today we are looking at a draft of our CMC statement. As a recap, we had a meeting last week with the city attorney, Bridget Martin, who is tasked with writing the CMC statement. We are entitled to write an addendum to the city's statement. And that's what we're working on. The judge, however, did say he would like all the parties to get together and talk about what should be advanced by the city in terms of whether the monitor should stay, whether the monitor's task should be modified, or whether the monitor should just be eliminated. We have been discussing in this ad hoc what does that look like? What do our responses look like? What do we need to look at in order to formulate our response? And so what we have now is a first. This might be a second draft. Yeah.
Second.
Yeah, this is the second draft. We need to submit our addendum sometime mid-August. The city is not seemingly concerned about, well, I don't want to characterize it, but I would just say that we are trying not to run up against the deadline, but be very thoughtful about putting our statement out there early enough so that if there's any issue with it, which we have experienced in the past, that our position was legally counter to what the city was advancing, and therefore it was expunged. We are now trying to develop our statement, not so it would be expunged or accepted, but to be in integrity with what we feel as a community our statement should say. Whether or not the city will accept it as part of the city's statement and our addendum to it is not something we're going to necessarily be guided by, because I think we are really trying to be honest and in integrity with what we have to say as the community. So we have the document. I don't know how many of you have had a chance to actually look at it. And how do you want to approach it? Do you just want to go paragraph by paragraph? Or what? What is your pleasure in how we review and comment? Yes, Walter.
I read it and I haven't made notes on it. I have not made comments because I was not at the last two meetings because of extenuating circumstances. But I found the draft to be much to my liking, and I like the approach. I do have a question that is not so much in terms of content. I want to hear what has been said in the past and approaching it. But I did write an email, and I wonder what the attorneys have to say. A week or two ago, back when I raised the question of whether or not we have a right to our independent position and which of the parties we would be aligned with most. It seems like I'm not sure whether it was a considered position that we align ourselves with the city and sort of come under the authority of the city attorney and the CMC, whether we are asserting our independence as a body that's been voted upon and has an independence within the city. Sometimes I think we might be more aligned with the plaintiffs because we are members of the community. But that we should have a right and assert that right, even if it's not clear from the judge's statement, that we have a right to make our statement clear and independent with the CMC, and not accept any precedent that we are being bound by the city attorney.
Yeah.
I suppose you discussed it, but I didn't like the city attorney's response discussions
No. Well,
and the attitude.
the city attorney tends to continue to make the argument that we are not a party, and not being a party, our voices are ancillary, and yet when the NSA ends, we are the body that continues the oversight that the court and the monitor perform. So the commission is more like the court, and the OIG's office is more like the monitor.
Well,
So,
I'd be interested in a statement or memo from whoever is necessary, but maybe the two attorneys here for the commission, setting out their thoughts about our relationship. It is possible for a body, and entities that is not a party to a lawsuit to intervene, and under what circumstances that might be possible here, that we assert ourselves as an independent body, elected issues, wrong terminology, but that we have been voted as a group, the commission, by the city. We should have a say in this, and it should not be dependent upon whether the city attorney or the plaintiffs want to hear from us, just because of the importance of what we're engaged in. And I wonder what the thoughts are. I think we have to do this in order to ensure that the commission here forward is an independent body and not subject to the city attorney. The other thing is clear to me is that the city attorney is not the policymaker in the lawsuit. The city attorney is supposed to be following the administration. It's the city that are the defendants, and the attorney represents the city. And it seems like they're gone beyond that attorney-client responsibility and trying to dictate what this agency or this body or this entity, however we determine who we are, is supposed to act. I think we have to assert ourselves. Now, that's separate from the content of the draft. I think the draft is fine, but I do hope that that's something that's considered. Does it make sense? Commission, councils, what your thoughts are with regard to that before we talk about the draft.
well, I will say this as the chair of the commission, that I would not like for us to have to, that might be something we could ultimately do. We did make it very clear to the city attorney that our message will get out, whether it be an addendum. We will certainly put it on our website, and we will release it to the press, because at this point, standing on some, very rigid legal definition of parties, that in the interpretation of OCA means we are not, and therefore our message is not the most important message, is it's nonsensical at this point, since we are the ones that will be taking over the work. I think and again, it's such a hostile position. I know, I understand where you're coming from, Walter, and ultimately maybe we will have to do that. But what is so sad is that the judge is looking at all the parties on the screen and said, all of you get together and meet and confer and discuss these issues. We can't even do that. And so then if we take a very legalistic position as an intervener, I think, I don't know how that gets us out of the NSA or keeps us in. So
I haven't proposed that we take either course. I'm wondering what the thoughts are about our independence and how do we continue to assert that. I think we have to do that under any circumstances, but okay.
Katina, Mariano, sorry.
Okay, just I believe that the content of our addendum is going to definitely, put forth our independence. If I hope that we're not the only dissenting opinion here, within the CMC parties, but it certainly looks that way, and that definitely is going to, assert our independence and establish it. And the message is going to be sent to the judge, that, you asked us to participate, I'm speaking the commission, you asked the commission to participate, here's our participation, here's our input. And I think definitely he's going to pay attention as well as the monitor. I think that at this point, I would not want to do anything other than that. Let's see what happens after the report gets in, and what part of the report of our addendum gets included. And then I think that, we should take, your path that you're recommending, Brother Walter. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Walter, our discussion with Bridget Martin was recorded, and so it's on our website. We were very clear with her about our position and the fact that it might be counter to the city's position, and that we will get it out one way or the other. Pastor Jackie, you have your hand up.
I'm sorry. Good afternoon, everyone. I was replying in the comments and then it went away. So I apologize for that. And so I just want to weigh in based on what I understood, Mr. Riley, you saying. First off, this is my perspective only. I won't say I'm speaking for the commission. In my opinion, based on the discussion we had last week, we are not aligned. When she was asked directly what would be her posture, she certainly said that she wouldn't be able to go into detail in an open session, that she would be open to a closed session where she would share very clearly what she intends to write in terms of the city's position. But as the conversation went forward, it was made clear that on this, at least as she would be writing it, that the city feels OPD is ready to come out from under the NSA. If I have that wrong, whoever else was in the meeting last week, please feel free to correct me. But that was the sense that I got. She also shared that in past practice, she was accustomed to negotiating with just the attorneys and not necessarily having to deal with the ad hoc, although she said she was open and glad and all the rest of that. She said that she was open to the document as it was written without it being redacted. However, she also requested that perhaps it could be seen in advance for a bit of back and forth negotiations. And I think that would be for the purpose of trying to have it be more in alignment with whatever the city's position is. But from my posture, what I got last week, the content, what we are proposing and what they intend to propose are not aligned. She did commit that the document would not be redacted, but she didn't promise. And the sentiment that I got once the call was over is that we absolutely 100% need to make sure we are very clear on what vehicles of distribution will be available to us to make sure that it gets out, because at this point, there are no guarantees. And there was absolute, in my opinion, again, resistance to the idea of extending the NSA, even just for a period of seeing if sustainability was possible.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think that the city, for whatever reason, is viewing this from a different lens than what we in the community are viewing. And what she also said was that the time that addendum was expunged was because we were making legal arguments contrary to what the city was making. So again, we asked her, what is the legal position? What position are you taking? Well, we haven't developed it yet. I haven't even started writing it yet. And yet everything is due by mid-August, and we are rapidly approaching mid-July. So that being said, and the fact that she said there will be meetings and commission will be invited, they haven't set any meetings. So again, we don't want to run up against any kind of deadline. So what we want to do is just develop our statement according to what we see and what we know, because what they see and what they know, they aren't sharing. And according to her, they haven't even developed. Now, if we wanted to have a meeting with the plaintiff's attorneys and see what they are thinking about all of this, that's a possibility as well. We could invite Jim Channon and John Burris to our ad hoc as we continue to refine our addendum. And I'm sure Jim Channon, in fact, is coming to the Thursday meeting, which all of you know is at Allen Temple on Thursday. It's our community meeting. And Jim Channon is coming to talk about the NSA and why we are where we are. So that would be a very good time for me to just invite him to come on to the ad hoc, share his view of what the judge is looking for. Are we interested in that?
My hand is up. So.
Hi, Rich.
Okay, if I can, I'd like to respond to Pastor Jackie. I think you have it perfect. Your analysis was excellent. I don't think she was anything different. She didn't surprise me. I was totally unimpressed, was not surprised at all, because even the judge says that the culture of Oakland Police Department will find ways to not to hold people accountable. So she comes to us, a group of citizens, praises us for being hardworking, and you're doing this for free, and you're volunteers. You should continue to do what you do best. And I was thinking, how do you know what we do best? You're not a part of our group. You don't even agree or think like we think. So it was a very missionary kind of perspective. We've been in Africa for 20 years, but we know what's best for you indigenous people who've been in Africa for eons. We know what's best for you. I was highly offended by that, but nothing she could say could change my mind. So anything she's saying now it should not have any importance to us. I don't think we should meet publicly with Jim Channing and John Burris. I think we ought to meet privately. I think we're heading for a legal battle, and I don't know why we have to expose what we're thinking when they care nothing about what we're thinking, except for how to disable us. So that's one comment I have. As for the document, I did read the document. I appreciate the document, but the one element that has to be in the document has to be the principal responsibility of law enforcement, which is to respond to calls for services, protect life and property, and take complaints. Those are the four elements. To respond to calls for services, to protect lives and property, and take complaints. We have a police department that does not respond. So how can you get out of the NSA when you don't even do your number one job? The response time, like I said to her face at that last meeting, you got a 45-minute response time. That's obscene. Nowhere in the history of law enforcement is that something to tolerate. You have absolutely no change of behavior when you have a Hegenberger corridor being shut down economically. And I shared with her that the retail sales along that corridor, I don't care if it's hamburgers or lunches or gasoline or whatever you buy, hotel rooms, rental cars, all of those taxes go directly to the Oakland city coffers. Those taxes belong to the city of Oakland. So they would rather ignore the money that they rightfully deserve to allow this kind of free-for-all. Now, I'm an avid watcher of law enforcement across the nation, and I submit to you that crime is down in Los Angeles, it's down in San Francisco, it's down in Hayward, it's down in Berkeley, and it's down in Richmond. Consider that. Why is that way? Because if I'm a BIP, I'm coming to Oakland to BIP. The police are not showing up. If I'm gonna hit somebody in the head for walking down the street and take their purse, I'm doing it in Oakland, in Chinatown. Why? Police are not showing up. And that is contrived. And that's what we ought to say. That's why we don't want you off the NSA, because you're not functioning in your primary responsibility and you don't want to do anything different. You don't even see that you should change the status quo. So that's the element that I would add to our response. And I'd like to hear what you all think about that.
Well, I think
I
that
hardly agree.
oh,
I'm sorry.
Jose. Go ahead, Jose, please.
I hardly agree. This is why I appreciate Reggie Lau so much. That's straight to the point. We shouldn't play around. We should put it just the way he talked about. And thank you, Pastor Jackie, as always, for your analysis. Spot on. But I believe I agree completely with both of them. And Reggie's 2 points of putting those pillars of policing in our document, I think is exactly what we should do. And also, I think we should. I think it's another excellent suggestion that we have a private meeting with the plaintiffs as opposed to public. So
Yeah.
I agree with both of his points. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I will yes, Walter.
One other question that I have is that we have not agreed to follow up with attempting a meeting with the mayor. There was a proposal and some responses to it, but we didn't come to an agreement that I should follow up to try and have that meeting. And that is not the same as meeting with the city attorney.
I think we did kind of did a little drive-by with that. We didn't really come to any conclusions. Anybody want to speak about having a meeting with the mayor? Reggie?
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I yield to you, Pastor. Please go.
Yeah.
Thank you. We did have that conversation briefly, and I don't recall if it was split. My sentiment was I did not see, given the way the attorney spoke so strongly as if whatever position she took was the mayor's position, was the city's position. I, for one, said I did not see a need for it, but I recognize I'm no expert in that area. So if you could help me understand if that meeting would still be beneficial, I think I'm certainly open to it. But given how the meeting went last week, it did not really seem beneficial. I know Brother Mariano had sent an email very clearly saying we need to follow up, we need to go for it. So there were different ideas that were floating around, but if you could help me understand how that would be helpful, I'd appreciate it.
Reggie?
I think we ought to meet with her because she's the chief executive of the city, not the city attorney. And we know that she is in some political hot water, but I see that all as politics in theater. I does not take away from the fact that the sitting mayor of the city of Oakland, charter city, is Mayor Chow. So we need to continue with the meeting, and we ought to have a frank discussion with her. So we'll find out what her position is, or what we think her position may be. And I think it helps if this ever gets back to the judge, that he'd see that we have done due diligence. And that always works in your favor. We're not trying to be single-minded about this. We're trying to, we understood from his letter to us, his directive to us, the way we understood it, we should try to get together with people. So we're trying to do that. We're the only one trying to be cooperative with you, in other words, Judge. I mean, no one else seems to care about anything you write or say. And I'm not an attorney, but I would think that's something I would say in front of them to the judge. You put it, if you put it in black and white, and then when he wrote that in black and white, he says, I'm putting it in writing in the case because I want people to see what is going on. That's how I read the missive. Am I correct in that? So if he wrote it like that, we're taking him at his word. They are not. They hear what should happen and they just ignore it.
Well, that's why we've been in this for 21 years.
And let me just add this point about this FBI raiding in the house. I don't see any evidence. I see a bunch of people walking out with boxes. Okay, I don't know what's in the boxes. You know, videos of people stage walking out with boxes don't mean nothing to me. You know, does the FBI contrive things? Yes. Do they make deals? Yes. Do we have that in our history? Yes. So I don't know if she's a mafia person, if she's guilty or totally innocent. I know she's innocent to proven guilty, and they haven't proven anything. So I'm not defending her. I'm standing up for due process. That's what I think we ought to do, and not be ashamed of that. I'm not taking a side one way or the other for her, but I know until they prove anything beyond a reasonable doubt, she's innocent. And if she's not innocent, we're not innocent. We all know COINTELPRO. It did not go away. It just morphed. Still a strategy. So people walking out of your house with boxes, it always amazed me about that. You do a search warrant, you come in, you got to have an affidavit, you got to say what you're looking for, whose house, the address, blah, 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 the names, you got to be so precise. Then when you leave, you have to leave a receipt of what you took and everything. Have we seen the receipt?
No, I think they're in their investigative stages. But
Okay.
whether
You know who gets the receipt? The receipt is given to the person whose house has been so I'd like to ask the mayor, you want to share the receipt?
I don't want to go down that rabbit hole.
Well, okay, I don't, but wait a minute. Oh,
Walter.
Okay, maybe I'm out of line here, but maybe we ought to get out of line.
Yeah.
If we're gonna make we can't keep doing the same thing the same way and expect a different result. That doesn't make sense to me either. Okay, so I'm saying I'm not defending her. I'm not taking a side. I'm saying she's innocent until proven guilty. So that's not going to stop me from relating to her like she is what? The mayor.
Mayor, of course.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay. So the question was, well,
Chair, I had a couple of things.
oh, of course, absolutely.
I just wanted to add a couple things that I also heard the city attorney, Bridget Martin, say. One of the things that she mentioned about the statement that was shortened and back in September of last year was that she received it at the last minute. She said it was an hour before it was supposed to be filed. And to hear her say it, she didn't have time to go through it, and therefore she didn't want to file it. But she did. She did say and didn't necessarily respond to questions about the issue of the commission having taken a different legal position. The other thing, not necessarily that I heard her say, but one thing that I do know, having been a former litigator, about meet and confers when it comes to case management statements, is that the city attorney, Bridget, is actually right. Those things usually do take place, not between the individual parties, the individuals or the companies or representatives of the companies. It's usually just the attorneys who meet. This is a different situation where we've got someone who, or a stakeholder who's been asked to meet and confer. And I think it's our position that having the commission or the chair, someone who's representing the commission, be in that meet and confer is actually very important. But I think the position that she's coming from as an attorney who litigates is that there will be a meet and confer with just the lawyers. So not to apologize for her, but to kind of explain what her position is. I have never, as an attorney, met and conferred with an individual or with an actual party. I've always met and conferred with their attorney representative. That doesn't mean, however, that has to be the case for us. I think
the judge made it clear that's not the case for us. And that's why
Absolutely.
he said everybody on the screen, because he knows everybody on the screen has an interest that is valid. And as we continue to look towards sustainability or getting from under the NSA, it becomes abundantly clear, at least to me, that the party of interest emerges as the commission.
Yeah.
And therefore to me, it just lacks common sense that you want to continue this box and this rigidity when the judge has made it clear that the parties on the screen, that's the only way I can describe it, are all interested parties, if you will, quote unquote, parties. And I know parties, how it's used in court. I litigated for 47 years. I know what that is. The judge, however, has already displayed his weariness at having the court continue this oversight without a change in culture. And when you say insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, to me, that's what we've been doing for 21 years. The judge is being more practical about what needs to be done. In the vernacular, y'all get together and talk about what you want to do with this, because this is a negotiated settlement between parties. And so the parties could say, hey, we need some input from the commission, because the commission, but instead of the city saying that, the judge has said that, hey, you guys need to be all talking, and you need to be talking with the commission as well. So we can meet with the mayor, Walter. What the question was, explain the utility or the what we would get out of a meeting, and what kind of meeting is she thinking she's having, as opposed to what we would want to discuss with her.
Well, I think it's part of developing our independence. And I know it's in the charter. We discuss it all the time, but we don't always proceed as independent. And I'm not sure that's for me. I've been litigating also. I've done interventions. I've been intervener. I've resisted interveners. And I sue the police a lot. That's how I make my living, by and large. My criminal defense work is largely pro bono. So I'm dealing with this, and I'm dealing with the city attorney. We are citizens. This city is a defendant. in this case. The city should be trying to take the temperature of the community. The city administration, not the city attorney, the city should be trying to take the temperature of the community. We have to be a body that understands that we got to push the envelope here, that we got to do something different about police oversight and the way we operate and how we operate as an independent group. And that means we do push the envelope within the process. And this is a process that's clearly, from what the chair has said, that the judge wants us involved. And if the judge is trying to find the proper negotiated resolution here, he's going to need to have the community involved. The Honorable Felton Henderson was a friend of mine, and I know some of the things he thought about, and he was also my law school instructor. What he thought about the way Oakland dealt with this. He's, his approach, you've heard it before, that Oakland does not have the courage or the will to deal with the role of the police in our city. And meaning that's the city, that's the citizens, that's the folks who operate and work with the city. And we need to do something stronger and better than we have here. He set the parameters for this approach. Oric is not Felton Henderson, but Felton Henderson has set the parameters and some of the precedent here. We need to follow through on that and be a lot more aggressive. This body, this NSA group committee, a subcommittee, and the commission itself has to figure out ways of being a lot more independent and assertive. We should assert to meet with the mayor to find out where the mayor is going and make sure the mayor hears our position.
Do you know that?
Whatever we think that might be, but that the mayor will hear our position. And we have to be somewhat accountable and responsible to the community in doing this. And I think that sets the precedent.
Would be it works as a part of the overall goal of the commission asserting its independence.
Yes.
As a respected body. Okay, thank you for that.
Well, at the end
and not accepting the analysis of the city attorney about who we are and how we have to operate and what the process is.
Certainly. Know this though, entreaties have been made to the mayor to please set up a regular meeting schedule with the commission, with the chair and vice chair. She doesn't want to do it. We have records of requests made by others on behalf of the commission. I know Mariano, the CPA, have all reached out. So I hear what you're saying. I don't know why, however, there is not a two-way conversation going on. It's not for lack of commission reaching out. It's the crickets we get in response. So we appreciate that you have a direct, seemingly direct communication with the mayor. And the mayor has said what in terms of having this meeting with us, Walter, because you're the one that's brokering this.
The mayor said what I put out on the email, that the mayor is prepared to have a meeting with us, and we have to set it up at a time with the scheduler and make it happen. There's been no follow-up from my part.
Okay.
And I think that what we do here as a member of this body, I'd like for us to do it, in terms of resolution as opposed to subjective thoughts and responses. So it becomes clear.
Well,
I don't know what the mayor's response will be, but if we make that request, then we will know.
I saw a program last night on Netflix. I binged it. It's called The Diplomat. I invite you all to look at it. It's very intriguing. International negotiations and blah, 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 blah. The guy gets up. He's the husband, the former ambassador. He's speaking to an international group and, at The Hague or wherever. And he's telling them, he's saying, look, we meet with everybody. We meet with terrorists. We meet with good. We meet with bad. We meet, we negotiate. Why do we negotiate? Because maybe, and he stopped talking. So we have made the initial forays into the meeting with her through Attorney Riley. So we follow up, and we don't bring all that baggage about what happened in the past, although let the record reflect, we've been consistent. And that's what we put out in front of Judge Orrick. If there's anybody who's any group or any entity, whether you're a part of the half standing or not, we've acted the most noblest. So let the community know that.
Yes.
And that's what we're responding to.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I mean, our politics means nothing. We just want people to call 911 and somebody respond and send somebody. Please. Can we just have that? And then when the raises come, because they will come, and then they threaten, well, if you don't give us the raise, maybe, well, you've already done that for 20 years. You don't come. You don't come. Inhale that. They don't come. That's so insulting to me professionally. Although they stand up and take the oath of office and all of that, and they don't come.
Mariano?
Yeah, I don't know how this works here, but I would say that, if we get by consensus, give Brother Walter, the permission to go ahead and pursue this meeting. And, but it needs to be more concrete than, my scheduler will follow up with your scheduler. It needs to be more concrete. So I don't know if, you need a motion or just a consensus. And then secondly, it was the mayor, Mayor Sheng Tao, who at 2 CMCs ago, she did state that what needs to be done to change OPD is to infuse the Oakland culture into the OPD. That was very clear and that was very, impactful. And so if she believes that, then, she needs to sit down with this group. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to have a meeting then with the mayor. What does this look like? Is this a Zoom meeting, or do you want to meet in person in her office? How do you want to handle this?
I think it
I'll say
definitely,
in person.
Jose?
I think it definitely should be in person. I think we need to be able to look her in the eye.
Mhm.
Zoom ain't gonna do it.
Okay. And so how do we want to do that? Do we want to take this time at 4:30 on a Monday and say we'll meet in her office? Do you want to just send just 2 or 3 of us? How do you want to do this?
I could have it either way, but I don't know that we need everybody there.
No.
We got some sharp folks. I think our attorney needs to be there. And of course, Walter, because he set it up, you have to be there. That's 3, maybe Mariano or Jose or Pastor Jackie, it doesn't have to be everybody. Or if you want everybody, fine. We all stand and deliver. I don't want her to be overwhelmed. I want her to understand we're just trying to communicate to you.
Given the stated goal of the meeting, I would think since the only positive response, as you all have said, was given to Brother Riley, I have no preference. I trust whatever you all come up with will be fine. Because at the end of the day, we will be subject to whatever works for her. And
Exactly.
so whatever is good and works for the group, I will yield to that. Whether that's in person, online, if I'm able to be there, I will. If I can't, I trust whoever can be present to move forward.
Okay. So, Walter, why don't you and I go offline and talk about logistics of how we're going to do this with the mayor? If it's a letter from me, if it's a letter from you, if that's too formal, I don't know. But let's talk about it. Yes.
Sure. Well, I don't know. I thought we would make the the decision here. My approach would be to contact the mayor through the same channel that I contacted her before and say that we want to have this meeting and we can work it out as a group. If there are questions about how it's done, the time and the place, I think, you know, there's a suggestion that it be in person. I too agree that it should be in person. And seems like the folks that are on this call would be a group that should be there at this moment. And maybe there are some additional folks, but we can work that through. I want us to be involved in the group and for myself in a more open process. I think there's been a lot of subjectivity in interpersonal relationships, and I have my thoughts about that, and I would like us to get beyond on that and work with each other and work with the other entities here in this lawsuit and building the commission in a much more discernible way, transparent with each other and with organizationally.
Wow. I'm not sure about what you mean by a lot of subjectivity. I think we've tried to be very open, as you can see, with, even though this is a recorded meeting, with our thoughts and desires. So we've been pretty open about trying to get a meeting with everyone who was on the screen, including the mayor. I don't know exactly what you mean by subjectivity.
Well, I've been watching even before I was here. I watched for the last year and the last period of time the open positions in conflict and public presentation of both the commission and the mayor around these issues. So I have, you know, opinions about it. I know the parties that left the commission. I have had meetings with the John George and other groups to discuss this commission that was going. I've been involved with the Coalition for Police Accountability since its inception. So I have, you know, as we all do, have our opinions about how things have developed and what people's attitudes have been. And we don't all agree. And I think that a lot of that has been, you know, I don't want to go into, you know, who said what, who shot John, but there's been a public statements and conflicts that has made it difficult for people to work together.
Mariano?
Yeah, you know, that's been said and done, and we can't, you know, go back, and we shouldn't go in there, like Brother Reggie said, you know, with the baggage and, you know, what happened before, you know, so I would say, let's go in it, you know, it's a new day. Let's, you know, what we want to do is get a sense of, you know, where the mayor is or the mayor's office is on this NSA and sustainability period. And, you know, that should be our goal. You know, and if someone from the other party wants to bring something else up, you know, I would say, you know, that's for another day. The
Agreed.
agenda item is this, and move forward. I would say, you know, the 4 people max, you know, I would say, you know, Chair Peterson, Brother Walter, Pastor Jackie, and I'm not sure, and since we're recommending in person, is Council Katina in town or okay, and I would say, you know, Council Katina, and that's it.
No recordings.
No, it will be in her office if I guess we do it in, of course, it'll be in her conference room, we do it live. I'm all for that, Mariano, and I would like for you to come also as a CPA representative. So Walter, would you just get some dates of her availability, maybe?
I will.
Chair
And we'll try to
Peterson,
work around it. Yes.
Chair Peterson, I would be there representing Brown.
Brown, okay.
Thank you.
I don't know that, is that a group? I don't know, or you're saying around this way, or what do you say? Okay, all right. So we have the draft. Reggie has suggested some other edits or comments or arguments we should be making in here, consider making. I would say for all of us having gotten this pretty late, I don't know if any of us have had an opportunity to really study it and come back with comments and arguments. But if you have anything that you would like to offer in this meeting today on the draft that we are working with here, why don't we do that? Pastor Jackie, have you had a chance to look at it?
I reviewed it and I typed in the chat, and so I certainly thank our attorneys. I think they compiled it for reordering, for incorporating the suggestions from last week. I think the document is stronger. I think the initial statement in the beginning is clearer. It's a lot more clear than it originally was. I'm sure more edits will come today and incorporating Deacon Lyle's statements as he put them forward. And I like it. So I'm fine with the content, and that's why I said the various meetings or conversations that we have hopefully would only stand to reinforce what we've already set up. But posture wise, I think that's reflective of what we've discussed and what is needed.
Okay, thank you. Mariano?
I just, I'm also generally in agreement with the way it's written, and I want to thank the councils for doing that. They did an excellent job incorporating the ideas and what was submitted. In section B, strengthening commission capacity, Oakland voters, it wasn't 2018, it was 2016.
Thank you.
And I have minor things like that, which I can send here.
Anyone else? Okay.
If for whoever has actually had the chance to review it, I'm obviously definitely open to comments and suggestions, but specifically I was saying earlier, I'm not certain I caught everything that everyone said a couple meetings ago about the section on culture change. I felt like I took a lot of notes, and when I got to that section, there were a few things that I added in, but I wasn't sure that I captured everything that everyone had said. So if anyone was able to review that section and has any specific comments, I'm open to comments on everything, but specifically suggestions on that section.
Section C. Okay. So we can send those to you, or if anyone has any comments right now to make on section C. What is it? C.
2C.
2C. 2C.
I personally like it the way that it is. It looks like some of the information that was previously discussed is in the lasting sustainability component. I do think the comments that were made today around clarity of the role of OPD, this section might be a good section in order to incorporate those comments, only in the context of the difference between the community's understanding of the role of the Oakland Police Department and historical understanding. That might be where some of those things can go. Because it speaks to the fundamental challenge you have in culture. But some of the things that were present there, I see them now in lasting sustainability, and I'm okay with them there, at least because it shows that the work wasn't just pointing out all of the issues and challenges, but that the ad hoc had also done some work on how to address those challenges. And that comes up in that last section.
I'd like to ask Brother Reggie a question. There's a section, it's in C, it's in page 5, at the top of page 5, where it says the OPD should not be distrustful of oversight, whether by the monitor or the commission and any corresponding discipline. And then I'll skip a line that says, only when accountability and discipline are viewed as restorative will sworn officers welcome transparency and a collective desire to improve behavior. I want to ask Brother Reggie, is only when it's viewed restorative, is that sufficient enough, or does restorative need to be, more defined?
Well, I like the word restorative. However, it probably rings differently on other ears. So the more definitive words we put to it will not hurt. When I think of restorative, I think we make people whole. We arrest those who are abusing folk. We investigate and produce evidence where people can use that for civil recompense. So that's how I see restorative.
Right. Okay. Yeah. For do better. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But I think the more words, the better. I think the more words, the better. We professionals like to speak in such a nomenclature that's, so succinct language that we cut away most of the folks who don't understand what you say.
I see.
What do you mean by restorative? So I think restorative justice is a good thing. I don't think everybody's got to go to jail. People ought to get, I don't think juveniles ought to get, adult incarceration. I think they ought a chance. Yeah, they ought a chance. It's restorative justice, to make recompense to the community. I don't know how those play out, even if they're picking up trash in the park. Just something to make them understand that you're a part of this community. We're giving you a second chance. And remember this. So that's how I see restorative.
As it relates to a sworn officer, it just needs to be that it's not punitive. It's not disciplined to.
Well, you know how I feel about officers in punitive. I hope I don't sound like I'm being, contradictory, but I think we're not punitive enough.
No, right.
On officers who have been through basic academy. They've been to FTO training. They're tested constantly. They have courses annually that they have to take and sit through. In order to not do the right thing, you have to have intention. That's why people who sue police departments understand that. You have to really work hard at not wanting to do the right thing, because you got sergeants, lieutenants, you got peers over you. Now we got body-worn cameras. We even give an officer who is a beat buddy, a beat officer that work together in tandems or whatever. If that officer doesn't step up when they see another officer doing something wrong, both of them are held accountable. We have so much policy in law. What we don't have is the will to punish.
Mm-hmm.
And thereby, and the reason why we don't, because they said, well, he's a good guy. I know he's a good guy. I want him to remain a good guy. And the way you keep a guy a good guy is that they see that, look, I want your child to go to Catholic school. I want him to go to the best college. I want you to have a house and a bedroom and everything. Don't lose everything because somebody else is stealing somebody's wallet or beating them too much because they're angry or out of control. Stop it. That's how you get a humane police agency. It's not impossible. What is impossible is that people don't like to hear you talk like this. And in law enforcement, if you talk like this, they ostracize you. You're the enemy. No, No, I'm for ethics. I don't hate you. I love me. So I'm not going to let you do anything to me so you can feel better. Now, second point. Well, we won't get off. We won't. When I was working for Gene Quan, we're losing good officers. Really? Are we really losing good officers? Are we really losing? Are we losing somebody who knows they can't get away with what they used to get away with?
Mhm.
So who's it good to?
Right.
I'm saying, you know, there's so many different strategies. There's so many people around here. There's so many folks around here that need a job. They got African Americans and Latinos believing that they don't want a job at the Oakland Police Department. Wait a minute, hold up. You grew up in Jingletown and you scared to drive a police car? You grew up in deep East Oakland and you intimidated about somebody seeing you? What do you? Hey, that don't scare them guys.
Yeah.
Well, how much am I going to make? $200,000 a year, and I can take care of my mother, and I can take care of my family. Why should I be intimidated by that? Listen, you know, they have us believing that so that they can go to Butte County and we wrestle and fight over the same type of officer who comes here scared to death, don't know Mosswood from Bushrod, Arroyo Viejo from DeFermi Park, and they all curse words to him. And they told over and over, you're going to die. They're going to kill you. They're going to kill you. No, they're not. Crime is so down now, not in Oakland, but it's so down everywhere else. Why? Because crime is just down. The economy is stopping crime. But they got us believing that, oh, you're in the Black community, so you're going to die any minute. No, you're not. So if you don't want to work here, fine. Let's go down to Oakland Tech, or let's call Jackie Thompson up, or let's call Mike McBride up, or let's call Walter Riley up and say, do you have any candidates? Mariano, do you have any candidates that you think will be wonderful police officers? Let's start there. Well, they don't want that.
Right.
They don't want that. They want the same guy who they can talk that killology to, who end up shooting us and chasing us and all of that stuff unnecessarily. Now, do I want police protection? Yes. Do I want more, not less. I want more in my community, not less. I want more. But when you walk away from a whole corridor, I don't know how many millions of dollars that Hegenberger Road produces. Think about that. Think about that. They walk away from that tax revenue. And all they had to do was, let's put some foot patrols out there. Let's put some abandoned police cars and park them out there. Don't park them down the lot. Park them out there. Let's change the perception. No, we ain't doing nothing different. And we don't want to hear it, though, and you don't have the right to talk to us about it.
Pastor Jackie messaged that, that maybe in that sentence, the message needs to be messaged. So, I made that, submitted this edit here. So I had it 3 or 4 sentences more. And so I will resubmit those, what I removed, because I wanted to address not only accountability and discipline within the Oakland Police Department, but also I wanted to address the resistance to oversight, because they see accountability and discipline as negative, as punitive. And I wanted to, both those things to be as, restorative. And I had 3 or 4 sentences and I removed them because I wanted to be concise,
Well,
like you say. So I'll resubmit those.
I think we ought to quote Judge Orrick as much as we can.
Yeah.
To just quote over and over and over. Here's a guy, you don't live in the flatlands of Oakland, but he can see it.
Right.
Okay.
I think that for me, Reginald Lyles resonates with me, has been for decades when we talk about the Oakland Police Department. or policing in general and the impact of it, a very real and realistic experience with it. And I think there may be, to terms of accountability, if they don't like it, then they have to learn to like it. Has to be there. Compassion, responsibility to the community has to be, it should be some of the things we think about, and using those messaging as part of that. One of the things that it just sort of, as part of the discussion, the information that Reginald Lyles has given us, is that my experience in my decades of suing police departments, and that particularly true in Oakland, that when new people come on and they say they're coming in through the academy, they want to give to their community, what they do is they go with the training officer. And I think the people with the best intentions get with training officers who want to teach them how to be bad. And whenever I have somebody that's been beaten, overly misused, abused, there's a training officer there that's experienced. And sometimes there are training officers that have been trained to do community interventions. They are there encouraging people to do their worst, because that's part of maintaining the culture in Oakland. And we can look at cases around that. I mean, I can tell you specific cases, but training officers who walk the beat downtown Oakland, their approach with their new mentees is to teach them how to be bad, how to be mean, and how to be rough on the streets. So I agree. It's intention, and that we have to point it out and understand that when we're dealing with people. You know, the lawsuits that I've engaged in more recently have been lawsuits saying what they can and cannot do in terms of crowd control. But the Oakland Police Department has had the approach of doing their worst with crowd control, using cars to hit people, using motorcycles to hit people. They had to be told to stop hitting people upside the head with nightsticks, even though everybody has known for 100 years that that's one of the most dangerous things to do. But they still want to do that, and they still want to claim that they have to use all kinds of force to protect themselves. The new lawsuit that we have just resolved in terms of crowd control does not allow them to use that kind of lethal force against people just because they say that my life is in danger. And they have to have some objective reason to believe that. And that only comes as a result of tremendous litigation and struggle to win people to accept that concept about what policing is. And if we start with that these folks are trying to do the right thing, we don't ever get to them doing the right thing. We don't ever get to them having compassion or ever being part of the community. And we need a lot of them to leave.
Well, Walter, I know I have a question to the group. Do we think that any improvement, any redeeming values or character improvement, a cultural improvement in OPD, has it come from their understanding of police ethics, of morality, or does it come from the NSA?
I think the NSA has been a lot. I think the lawsuits that have been a lot. I think the public discourse has been a lot, particularly in the last few years since George Floyd. There's been a lot more. We had Supreme Court Justice Sotomayor talking about the role of justice. We have judges being engaged in discussions about what it means to be police officers. But I think that we've given them a lot of leeway over all the decades. Since the late 60s and early 70s, the law enforcement commissions using the money to organize gangs out of Chicago, to organize gangs out of LA, have been part and parcel of what they're doing. San Francisco historically has been one of the worst police departments. The Mac Brown outfits in the country, but it's gotten a different approach. Police officers get promoted when they do their worst. That's true in Oakland. Sheriff's officers, police officers who try to do the right work, and Reggie, you probably know them, will say that if they've been promoted consistently, they are the ones who have done some of the worst in terms of relationship to people.
We see their names in the index of the writers come out at night.
Right.
The same officers are still on the force.
Yeah. I mean, and those are the things that we have to be accountable to. I mean, so I understand having the compassion for the individual police officers, but it's a culture that we're dealing with, and that culture doesn't change until we identify it, name it, and then use the language best possible to reach folks. But my history from the civil rights movement growing by the South to the present tells me that people don't change their ethical approaches. They have forced to live in different circumstances. Structural changes make it possible for us to have safety
right.
in our community. Not appealing to morality or ethics. We have to be ethical in doing our work, but we don't have people to change in that sense.
Okay.
There's a
So-
lot here, so I'd like to see Reginald preaching a lot more.
I know I sound preachy when I do this, and I get compassionate or passionate about it.
Passionate, yeah.
And
absolutely.
I actually believe that turns people off. So
Not
I
me.
hope they just hear it. I mean, we actually can have what we want to have.
Mhm.
It's not impossible. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen at the Berkeley Police Department. I've seen it happen here at the Novato Police Department. I've seen it happen in San Francisco. So it can happen. You just have to have people who have the will and the intelligence to, this strategy doesn't work. We use another strategy. But we know what we want, and we know what we don't want.
Right.
We
Well,
don't want Project 25 policing,
Yeah.
2025 policing.
Well, we have 9 minutes. The pastor certainly prayed heavily over the new police chief on Sunday, put oil on him and everything. So we have hope that he will lead the charge of cultural change that's needed in the police department. He will be at our meeting at Allen Temple on Thursday. You can have a more close encounter with him. With respect to today's meeting, I think we got a lot off our chest. We have this document. We should read it carefully. Send any comments, updates, revisions to Micah and Katina. By today is Tuesday. If you could send them by Friday so that any update can be made not later than maybe Friday close of business. Well, maybe you could send it Thursday. Somehow we got to get the document a little bit earlier than our meeting. So what works for you, Katina, and what works for you, Micah?
So nothing on Thursday because we have the meeting and that's the main focus. So I won't be really looking at email to get it out to people. So Friday, I don't know what you could do before then, Katina, for me to distribute it to people.
Yeah, Friday I have conflicts. I have other things that happen on Friday, so usually it's easier for me to get edits in sometime on Monday. But if you all could get, if you all are able to look at the document tomorrow and get things to me early on Thursday, then I can spend Thursday inputting any edits and making changes and get them to you all by Friday.
Yeah, and then I can send it on Friday. That would be perfect.
Does that sound like a plan for comments to the document? The second thing is, Walter, you are going to reach out to the mayor, let her know we are interested in meeting in person and that she could give us some times and dates that work for her schedule. Okay, great. Anything else?
Keep on preaching, Reggie.
I'm sorry, what? I
I
missed
told we
it.
keep preaching.
I just told Reggie.
You
to
can
keep on
join him on Thursday at noon because that's the email I'm getting ready to send to him.
I get that, Pastor. I get that.
Okay.
Chair Peterson, if you want to acknowledge Miss Risa is our one attendee from the public today.
Hello, Miss Risa. How are you? Risa Jaffe? Miss Jaffe, hello.
Good, y'all. I appreciate the acknowledgement. It's really not necessary. And I
Okay.
appreciate all the work you do, and I love it when Reginald Lyle speaks up, because I just, yes, all of it. And Pastor Jackie, I mean, all of you, but your voices that I only hear in these spaces, and so I'm just so appreciative. I wish more people would hear your voices.
Well, it's on the website. You could tell your friends to tune in. I would just say too that these are people who are committed to doing the people's work. And as Pastor Jackie preached on Sunday, the mission is still the mission.
Still a mission.
It doesn't matter the criticism, the shade, the disrespect, the mission is still the mission. So let's keep that in mind and get your comments, edits, revisions, as we've discussed, to Katina and Micah, and I'll see you next Monday.
Take care.
Have a great rest of your
Tuesday.
Oh,
Next
God,
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Next, Pastor Jackie.
I've already had 3 Zooms today. Okay, bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you for coming.